Hello, happiest of days to you folks. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day, one of the best you've ever had in your entire life. For you folks, and if not yet, it will be soon. Alright, so today on Friday, I do top 10s of older stuff out there, like movies, short stories, and that sort of thing too. Typically, I started off with movies and then other things too in the genres that we cover, and then I started doing authors, books, and now short stories. And this is my 7th short story for you folks. This channel got started off doing reviews of older things for folks that people might have forgotten about, right? And the passion for the new stuff, right? And that sort of thing too. So I thought it would be nice to knock out some of these things. Now, short stories tended to be hugely popular for most of people's reading them, right? Only novels tended to be more of a modern phenomenon. So you'll find a lot more short stories that have been published, and also many more that I've read for this channel too, right? It also takes a larger commitment of your time too, right? And to do a novel, right? A Clancy novel is huge, and it can take you like a month, right, to knock that thing out, right? And that sort of a thing too. But that's really more of a modern convenience. And so for this channel, when I'm going back and reading these things from right, the pulp era or the other things too, they tend to be short stories that I'm reading for you folks, right? I tend to find short story collections to be great too. My first favorite genre was fantasy. I was born in 76, so I was typically reading fantasy novels, right, and that sort of a thing too regularly for you folks, from Salvatore to Moorcock. But then after that, in college, I became a fan of horror. Read H.P. Lovecraft stuff from the pulp era, a 3-volume collection of his stuff, from one of his Cthulhu Mythos stuff, one of his fantasy stuff, and then one of his just general horror stuff too. And then I became more a fan of horror, read tons of short stories, even more than 1,000 in the Cthulhu Mythos alone, right? All up and down the books. And I feel like the horror short story tends to be a better way of telling short stories and a better medium than the other traditional things too, like books. So you can also expect to see lots of those too here too, as well as the occasional science fiction or fantasy here too. For you folks, all right, let's get started. So number 10 here is Lord Dunsany's Idle Days on the Yawn. So this is from 1910, and that sort of a thing too. This is one of a series of his things he published in a collection, which I've read for and reviewed for this channel. Now, Lord Dunsany was a popular guy in Ireland at the time. He had enough money that he didn't have to write. He only wrote because he wanted to. It was a passion project. He's popular for things like The Gods of Begana, which was one of my favorite novels that I put down for you folks, as well as another one, and I think in the second volume, The King of Elfland's Daughter, too, for you folks. And this is a very strong stuff. It's set in the Dreamlands. It's one of a series. Love it a lot. It's great stuff. All right, so number 9 is Ramsey Campbellton. This is somebody who actually was one of my top 20 authors that I also had for our folks, and this is somebody in the Cthulhu Mythos. It's one of the first ones that was published. It was actually called in a collection called Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos. And when I was in the 90s, after encountering Lovecraft stuff, I read a ton of these things, including some things by him. And then I picked up a novel by Ramsey Campbell of his collections, and that novel is called Culprit, and this is in it. It's actually the lead title, and that's actually Culprit, and this is from 1969. Now this is a set in Ramsey Campbell's section in the Cthulhu Mythos in his native UK, and then it also has there a fun little take with its. This is a primary protagonist is somebody who just loves books, old books, and that sort of a thing. He's more of a, you would probably call him a bibliophile. But then he also goes ahead, and with that passion, he actually encounters some folks in his quest at this weird shop. And that person is a nasty Cthulian creature with great descriptions, and that sort of a thing too. And the descriptions of him are very, very strong stuff. Well, like eyes for hands and stuff like that. Alrighty, so that's pretty good. That's Ramsey Campbell's Culprit from 1969. Now, number 8 is another Cthulhu Mythos one, and this is written a little later. It's by Kim Newman. We've actually read a novel. Well, it's a novel. It's also game book, choose your adventure book for adults, Life's Lottery, Love Lots. And so this is called The Big Fish, and this is from I think it's 93. It's harder to read when you're trying to read it. I haven't zoomed in, paying attention to you, and that sort of thing too. But this is it's set in the Cthulhu mythos on the west coast of things and that sort of thing too. And our primary person is a private investigator. And what this, in a very, very C section. And basically what this does is it combines the film noir genre of rough stuff with the Cthulhu mythos. And I'm like, why wasn't that done before? That's an incredibly smart adaptation. And that sort of thing too. I love it lots. And that's The Big Fish by Kim Newman from 93. Next up is Man-Size in Marble. This is by Edith Nesbit, and it's from 1887. She was also a popular person in the UK. I think she was one of the founders of the Labour Party, if I remember correctly. And so she did lots of great stuff. She was a key person who wrote lots of literature. This is a horror short story collection that I got when I was a kid. It's called Collections in Terror. And I got one when I was a kid and read and that sort of thing too as a Christmas gift. I bought second hand. It had things in it like Guy de Maupassant's The Horror Witch Hit, as well as things like a certain Signalman by Dickens, other stuff too. This is strong stuff, I love it lots. But it's pretty strong. I love it lots. I love the ending. I love what's happening in it. I love the concepts. It's good stuff. That's Man-Size in Marble by Edith Nesbit. Now number 6 is another short story in the Greyfouser and Fafford collection by Fritz Lieber, and this is 1963's Bazaar of the Bizarre. Actually, it's Bazaar of the Bizarre. I apologize if I pronounce those the same. But anyway, this is set in his Langmar series. Basically, what's happening here is that you have these two thieves that have different sorts of archetypes. One is more of a Conian style thief named Fafford. He's up from the Northlands. He's more of a barbarian. He's the strong guy, but he's very, very agile too, just like Conan was. Because Conan was a thief for a while too. And then Green Mouse was more of a typical. This was the first thieves, world thieves guilds, right? That sort of thing, hugely influential. It's the first large city, right? And so if you're reading Metropolis, it's like Waterdeep today, this is where it comes from, right? And so yeah, it's great stuff, heavily influential. Basically what's happening here is that one of our people has encountered a transnational shop. Well, transplant might be a better example. And that sort of thing too, which is called the Bazaar, which actually uses like mad illusions to ring people in, and that sort of thing. And one of our people has arrived and he doesn't know it, and he's getting brought in, and then the other one is told by is given some lenses by one of their people that sort of gives him information, right? And that sort of thing too. He does services for, and so he'll have to go in and get the other one, and that's basically the setup. So number 5 is one of my favorite Cthulhu mythos, Generation 1s, when Lovecraft was still on law. This is Winged Death, which is a collaboration with him and Hazel Heald. It's set in Africa. It introduces a lot of great stuff. Love it lots. It's right. It doesn't really have any deep Cthulhu mythos stuff, right? None of that stuff. It's just a strong, but it doesn't happen to be there, right? It has a couple of references, but basically what's happening here is that we have somebody who loves flies and that sort of a thing too, and so they're going there and studying flies in Africa, doing expeditions and that sort of a thing too, and then something dark and tragic is going to happen. Right. Number 4 is We Can Remember It Wholesale for You by Philip K. Dick from 1966. So this is another of the Philip K. Dick. It's my third favorite of the top 3 that I like by him from his science fiction short stories. A collection of all of them that I read for this channel. This is basically what's happening in Total Recall. For if you folks know, my first 2 I liked lots, but this one really was changed for the movie in Total Recall. No, I don't think it's bad the ways they want. I think that they went with it, but I think that this one just has a much better, stronger premise. Right? They don't leave Earth and that sort of thing. You can feel like the first time you watch Total Recall, right? You can probably come to me out and say, was this in his mind, right? And that sort of a thing too. Just like Donnie Darko, but when you go back and but not really, right? We all know that he actually lived, but this one has a lot more of that sort of a thing happening to a level lot. So I think it's great stuff. All right, and so number 3 is Jack Vance's Mazarin. I think it's Mazarin. What might be an I in there? It might be Mazarian, The Magician. It's from 1950. This is from his short story collection called of the Dying Earth short stories. And that sort of thing too. It's basically what's happening here in this collection. It's a post-apocalyptic fantasy where people are casting spells. Because it's post-apocalyptic, they don't have many spells. The way magic works too is a little similar to things like the Vancian style of magic that we'll see later in Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing too. It's got great descriptions, great conversations, great world building, and great word prose, right? So I love it lots. And then number 2 is The Rats and the Wolves, and this is by H.P. Lovecraft. This is from 23. Right, it's an absolute classic in the Poesque. I think it's probably his best short story of horror in his early era. And that sort of thing too. You can definitely see how he's trying to get that stuff taken care of as somebody moves into a house, and that sort of a thing too. And now has to deal with some of the aspects of this house not being a good house to live from the underground, from the cellars, and that sort of a thing too. Now I'm going to give you a fair warning right up front. This does, in case you don't want to read it, and that sort of a thing too. It does have some language, right, that was of its time, as well as the name of a cat. And that's everything too, just as a heads up. All right, number 1 is A Rose for Ecclesiastes. This is by Roger Zelazny. It's published in 1963. I think I want to hear it. It's in the Science Fiction Hall thing and that sort of a thing. Just actually an apology. I should have had this higher. I adore this short story so much. It's well written. It's got a great ending. It's got a great descriptions. Roger Zelazny doesn't take too much of your time. Roger Zelazny's a brilliant writer from his Chronicles, Remember stuff, and that to some of his Cthulhu Mythos stuff that hit earlier. This is an absolute classic, and the fact is I was sleeping the other night going to sleep, and I was like, I forgot to put A Rose for Ecclesiastes in this, so I literally got up and wrote this down, and to make sure that I didn't forget it. But it's probably more like it probably would be my top 30 or 20 if I were to read this list. Sorry about that. Right, so I am so sorry about that. That is an apology for you folks. That's A Rose for Ecclesiastes by Roger Zelazny. It takes place, if I remember correctly, on Mars. It's a very strong science fiction concept and that sort of a thing too, as things happen for you folks. And it has some conversations with language and the consequences of these things in their society being different than humans, with the folks that are there too. Love it lots. All right, so here's my top 10 once more. Number 10 is Idle Days on the Yawn by Lord Dunsany. Number 9 is Cold Print by Ramsey Campbell. Number 8 is The Big Fish by Kim Newman. Number 7 is Man Size in Marble by Edith Nesbit. Number 6 is Bizarre the Bizarre by Fritz Lieber. Number 5 is Winged Death by H.P. Lovecraft and Hazel Heald. Number 4 is We Can Remember It for You Wholesale by Philip K. Dick. Number 3 is Mazarian, The Magician by Jack Vance. Number 2 is The Rats and the Wolves by H.P. Lovecraft. And number 1 is A Rose for Ecclesiastes Overdue by Roger Zelazny. For you folks, all up and down the blocks for you folks. Have you read these short stories? Well, what did you think about them? Would you put them in this order? What would be your top 10 or top 70 in this case? Right, we'll be happy to sort of engage you with it further. And in the comments below. Remember, I'm not a trained critic. I did study English in college, right? None of that stuff. I'm just a fan like you are, right? So that means I'm not coming to you from a place of expertise. So I'm really passionate about that. Just try to keep it spoiled every day I got it too. For you folks. And then also, I also do some of these older reviews of these. I do 3 of these, like I mentioned earlier: short stories, novellas, novels, poems, sometimes 2 prose poems. that sort of thing too. So you should check those things out. All up and down the block. And then on Saturday, I do something called Serial Saturday, which is dedicated to the forgotten storytelling genres. Last week, I did the very, very racist and a little misogynistic too. That was set in Africa, the Lost City. Now this week will be the Phantom Rider from 46. It's a western by Republic. It's actually pretty strong stuff. It's a nice return to basics, right? After doing it, and then and then on Monday, do reviews of older tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or role playing or games like BattleTech, right? And that sort of a thing too. Right now, I'm reviewing modules. I just did X7's of the War, Wraths of Kron, and next week will be next one. So you can check that out too. And then on Wednesday, I do reviews of older video games, or just sometimes more recent ones that happen to hit me, and that sort of a thing too. I just did 2 weeks ago, Guild Wars 1, and then I actually just did the DLC Sorcery Pack from Planet Coaster 2. I also do some Let's Plays too, right? And that sort of other thing too. So if those 7 older reviews plus Let's Plays and that sort of a thing too, if that sounds like your cup of tea, or you just want to do some short stories and stuff and more of the literature side of things too, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, this is your channel, right? Not mine. Let me know what your thoughts. But please welcome to the channel. If that's something you're interested in doing, then please do all the YouTube stuff too, right? Like hit the subscribe button, like button, bell icon, all that stuff too. As you can tell from those 7 older things, right, and finding them for you and then unpacking them, that is the passion of this channel. Right? It's even where its name comes from. The worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who says that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old stuff all up and down the block for you folks, right? And so, and so I think in the passion for the new novels, the new video games, the new movies, right, all that, the new sensations, that sort of a thing too, we sometimes have forgotten that these things, they're standing on the shoulders of giants. So let's check out those giants. Not that these things are bad by default, but you get the idea. None of these, I think the oldest one here was from 1993, right? None of these are that recent, right? And that sort of thing too. Many of these will be for free online, right? And that's definitely finding these things for you folks. Alrighty, and there you are. I want to thank you so very, very much for taking some time out of your day and investing it, right? And watching my videos. Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, right? And we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact you spend this time with me, that's incredibly humbling. And I appreciate that so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.